Hello everyone. In this video I will discuss about AWS Lambda. Lambda is a AWS service which comes under the compute services category. There are various categories of services in AWS like compute, networking, storage, databases. So Lambda comes under the compute category. This is a serverless offering by AWS, which means we don't have to worry about the underlying servers on which our code is running. All the underlying infrastructure is managed by AWS. By managed by AWS, I mean the operating system maintenance, capacity provisioning, scaling, logging, etc. This is all done by AWS. We don't have to worry about these. We just have to write our code and deploy it to the Lambda function. So all you need to do is supply your code to AWS Lambda service in any of the languages that Lambda supports. And another point is you only pay for the compute time when the function is running. There is no charge for the idle code. What it means is you have deployed your Lambda function in AWS Lambda service. And if the function is not running, then you will not be billed for that function. You will only pay when the function is invoked or function is running in your Lambda service. And the last point is Lambda is highly available service managed by AWS. So you don't have to worry about the availability of your function. It will be managed by AWS in their underlying infrastructure. So let us jump to the AWS console and we will create a new Lambda function. So here I am in my AWS console. Search for Lambda. So this is the Lambda dashboard. Right now I don't have any functions created. You can create your function in any region which is nearest to you. Click create function. So there are three options to create the Lambda function. One is author from scratch, use a blueprint or through a container image. So we will create the function from scratch. Enter a name. You can provide any name with these constraints. Then you choose the language to use to write your function. So these are the supported languages. Permissions. Lambda will create an execution role with permissions to upload logs to Amazon CloudWatch logs. So when we create the Lambda function, a new role is created which has the permissions to upload logs to CloudWatch. So the new role will be the IAM role which will be created with this Lambda function. You can also choose an existing role. There are some advanced settings like enable code signing. Use code signing configurations to ensure that the code has been signed by approved source and has not been altered since signing. Enable function URL. Use function URLs to assign HTTPS endpoint. You can see the details here. These are some advanced settings which you can skip for now. So click on create function. It is taking some time because a new role is also being created with this function, new IAM role. So now our function is created. Let us see what options we have here. So this is the code tab where we have the code for our Lambda. Test. You can test your Lambda function by providing event name. We have to be give some values. And click test. So you can see the details. Our Lambda function is executed. Then we have this monitor function, monitor tab. You can monitor your logs in the CloudWatch log group. So the log group, new log group is created by Lambda, and the logs are put here in this log stream by the Lambda function. So we have some other configurations. Timeout, by default the timeout is 3 seconds. You can increase the timeout up to 15 minutes. Then we have this triggers section. Triggers is, right now we don't have any trigger for our Lambda function. We ran the Lambda function manually, so you can add triggers from here. Trigger can be different AWS services like API gateways, CloudWatch logs, code commit. There are many services which can trigger this Lambda function. And then we have this permissions. So this is the role which was created with the Lambda function. So we can provide additional permissions to this Lambda function. Like for now, this Lambda function has permission to create log group and create log streams, put log events. So you can add additional permissions here. Then we have destinations. So destination is like you can define here on failure. If the function fails, then you can send some SNS notification, or you can send some message to SQS queue, or you can call another Lambda function. Similarly, if the Lambda function succeeds, you can choose the destination type. Function URLs, you can also create a function URL for your Lambda. You can associate environment variables with that Lambda function. We can also associate tags with our Lambda function. Tags can be useful to search and filter your resources, like in services like AWS costs. You can also connect this Lambda function to a VPC. By default, this function isn't connected to any VPC. And then we have some other advanced configurations which is beyond the scope of this overview video. Was it in this overview video. Here we created a new Lambda function. So if you like this video, please share and consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you.